I'm about ready to embark on my Patchwork Memoir project, which has been in the planning stages for about 3 years now, and I thought I would document the process. So I first thought I would start with sharing my nook. This is the dormer room of our house, which originally started as my teaching room where I would come and grade, and then it became my library, and now it's kind of my all-purpose room. So anyway, as you walk in, you can see that I have a couch that I sit and read and do all kinds of computer work and writing work. And then straight ahead, in front of the windows, I have a long table, and then perpendicular to that, I have another long table. This is my crafting space, which we will come back to in just a moment. And then as I work my way around the room, I have lots and lots of shelves. These shelves mostly hold my journaling supplies, and then we go into the library portion, which is lots and lots of books. It's hard to believe that I've given away about 25 bags of books so far since I've retired, but nevertheless, this is my nook, this is my cozy retreat, my home away from home, and I am very grateful. So this is the beginning of a patchwork memoir project. I came up with the name Patchwork Memoir because it's like taking the little snippets of life and putting them together to make a glorious story. And so what I do is I begin with pictures. Pictures have always been very important to me. I've always taken pictures of events of the life, memorable moments. But this is a way to document and really tell the story behind the picture. So I'm starting with pictures of my parents and their life, and then transitioning into my life before kids. And so right here, I kind of I culled through a lot of the pictures. I organized them, put them into stacks. So this stack right here is my parents, both my mom and my dad, from their birth up until the time they got married. This stack right here is the stack of me. That's me in probably first grade. All the way through 6th grade when we moved to Connecticut. This stack here is me from the time we moved to Connecticut, which was 6th grade until I graduated high school. And then the final stack here is college through me getting married, moving to New York City, and just prior to having children. So I have organized the pictures. As you notice, when I had them printed, I used Shutterfly, and I intentionally created this large border. And that's because when I do Patchwork Memoir, I want the picture to be of interest, but really I want the writing to be the focal point. And so this will allow me to crop down the picture to be a usable size to allow me to write lots and lots about the story. The next step in the Patchwork Memoir project is to come up with what decorative elements do I want to use. I really am focusing on the writing mostly, so I'll have very few decorative elements in this scrapbook project, but I do like a little bit of color. And so I went to Hobby Lobby and I found this nice, I think they're, I don't know, what size are they? 4x6, 4.5 by 6.5. Papers. I do not need large 12 by 12 papers because it's just going to be a touch of color, not a whole page of color. And I really like this. I thought that the papers in here were kind of fun, and they're papers that I enjoy anyway, but I also thought that they had a tinge of vintage to them. And since I'm working with mostly black and white pictures from my parents, I thought that it might coordinate well. So I started off by choosing this, and then I went and chose solid color paper that would coordinate with the prints that are in the Murphy Square packet. And then I do have a few sheets of very lightly printed paper. These are really small dots in coordinating colors. The last decorative element that I'm going to use possibly is washi tape. And so I went and I got some various washi tapes that match the colors that are in the Murphy Square paper pack. So a lot of neutral colors because I am dealing with black and white photos, but then again, a lot of colors that blend in well with the Murphy's pack. And so for me, this is a great way to do a project to limit my color sources right from the beginning. And then that just kind of allows me to focus on the photos and the story and not so much on the decorative elements. The very last thing that I got is a white Jelly Roll pen. That's because since this is called Patchwork Memoir, I do plan to have a couple of patchwork quilt designs in the decorative elements, and I thought that this white pen would allow me to add some stitch marks to the paper to give it an authentic quilt look. The final aspect of my planning phase of the project is to come up with page layout ideas before I actually do the scrapbook project. So what I have here is these are some pages that I created about a year ago just to kind of experiment. I was highly inspired by Kathy Zilski, which I don't know if you follow her. I'll try to leave a blank below. But she is an avid hybrid scrapbooker, that is combining traditional scrapbooking with electronic digital scrapbooking. And anyway, the basic idea is to take your photos and then actually use a Word document package. I'm using Word. She uses Photoshop Elements, but to write the story, and then you add some colored paper and any other embellishments. So anyway, these are a few scrapbook pages that I had done in the past. But then I also have some scrapbook layout idea books. So here is one. This is from my Creative Memories scrapbooking days. These page layouts actually came from a person named Deborah Cookuk. And what I did was I pulled together ideas that I thought I might use in this project. I put them in one particular binder. So for example, here is her designs are just very clean and very simple, and this one right here just speaks of vintage photos, so I'm sure I'll be using that one in one of my Patchwork Memoir pages. And then I also have my Creative Memories idea books and fast formula books that I kind of took apart and kind of put together again in an album of layout ideas that I think I might use for this project. And so you can see that squares are used a lot in this, and with the whole idea of Patchwork Memoir and using squares and triangles in order to create what looks to be like quilt blocks, that's kind of the image that I have. Another idea that I did this yesterday real quickly, was I tried to put together some quilt patterns that I thought might be beneficial to this project using the colors of the paper that I plan to use. So anyway, I have about, 6, 7, 8 different designs that I can call upon for the project. I would be remiss if I didn't mention journaling in this video, since I am such an avid journaler. This is a journal that I started about 2 years ago when Patchwork Memoir was in a different phase. And what I was doing with this particular journal was I was just pulling vintage photographs in a random order, and I was just writing a one-page story about each photograph. My idea at that time was to actually create a Creative Memories style scrapbook. But I quickly realized that a Creative Memories style scrapbook, as much as I love those, were going to be way too heavy for such a writing intense kind of project. I would only be able to put one photo on a page, and I just don't think those albums lend themselves to that. So I've come up with a different idea, but what I plan to do with this journal right now is twofold. First of all, I plan to document stories that I really want to tell. I don't have a lot of photos of my parents' younger days and even of their married days, but I have a lot of stories in my head that my parents told, and I want to make sure that those stories get put on paper. So I'm going to make sure that I write those ideas in here, and even if I don't have a photo that matches directly with the story, it doesn't matter. The words are what's going to tell the story, and the photograph is just there to kind of give you something to look at. The other way that I hope to use this book is because I don't have a lot of stories of my parents, and both of them are gone. I have so many questions that I wish I had asked them. And so what I want to do is I want to use this journal to keep track of the questions that I wish I had asked. And perhaps sometime in the future I will put together a legacy scrapbook book to help others in this process. And maybe it will help some ask the questions while their parents are still alive. And that way you will have the stories firsthand instead of trying to create them in your own mind. So about 4 hours later, this is somewhat of the mess. I did a little bit of cleanup before I shot the video. But I have 2 pages done in my Patchwork Memoir project. It is a trial and error process. This particular page, I think I printed it off about 6 times before I finally got a look that I liked. But what I'm using is just plain white cardstock. I am using a Word document, and so when I go to write the story, I actually measure the photo and I just create a text box so that I can have the print go around the picture. And then the same thing with the decorative element at the box at the bottom. I measured that and I inserted a text box in the Word document so that my writing would flow around it. And then when I printed it off, I just printed it off where you couldn't see the text box and I just added it. So very quick and easy. So that is page 1, and then page 2 is this one. As you can see, the decorative elements are incredibly sparse. I'm just trying to add a little bit of eye candy, maybe. I don't know what the right word is. I'm just trying to add a little bit of a decorative element, but I really want the story to be front and center. I am using just a plain plastic page protector that I'm going to put in a plain white album. I will probably at some point make a spine for the album, but I think this is a format that my family would be more likely to read than a traditional scrapbook. I think it will be easy to store, easy to read, and hopefully it will be passed down from generation to generation so that my family's stories and values and beliefs are not lost.